A monkey, an arrow, and a prince. At first glance, these three things have nothing in common, but together they might explain why so many of us feel trapped and how we can become free. In this video, I want to explore three Buddhist stories with you that might completely change the way you think about freedom. Imagine you're walking through a jungle. A hunter wants to catch a monkey, but he doesn't build a cage, he doesn't use chains. Instead, he places food inside a trap. A curious monkey comes along, he reaches inside and grabs the food. And suddenly he's stuck. Not because the trap is holding him, because his fist is. If he lets go, he's free. But he doesn't. He pulls harder, struggles, panics, and eventually he's caught. Versions of this story appear throughout Buddhist teachings about attachment and suffering. The lesson is simple. Often what traps us is not the trap itself, but our refusal to let go. And that's when I started thinking about my own life. How many things am I gripping so tightly that they're making me miserable? Those might be a relationship, a version of the future, a goal, the need to be successful, or to be understood. Maybe it's the need for life to finally make sense. And then I realized that most of us aren't trapped by circumstances. We're trapped by what we refuse to release. The monkey could have walked away at any moment. The only prize was letting go. And sometimes that's exactly what freedom costs. The second story comes from a teaching of the Buddha often called the two arrows. Imagine you're walking through a forest. Suddenly, an arrow hits you. It hurts. Of course it hurts. That's the first arrow. Then something strange happens. Instead of stopping there, you pick up another arrow and shoot yourself again. This second arrow is made of thoughts like, what if things never get better? Why is this happening to me? I should have known better. My life is ruined. The Buddha taught that pain is unavoidable, but much of our suffering comes from the second arrow, the stories, fears, and mental spirals we add on top of the original pain. That made me think, and when I look back at some of the most painful periods of my life, the event itself wasn't always the worst part. The worst part was the story I built around it. The fear, the catastrophizing, the endless replaying of every possible future. And that's where Buddhism introduced an idea that I had never considered before. What if freedom isn't about eliminating pain? What if freedom is learning not to shoot the second arrow? Because I think that a wise person still feels disappointment, grief, and loss, but they don't turn every painful moment into a life sentence. The third story is perhaps the most famous in Buddhism. Before becoming the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama was a prince. He had wealth, comfort, status, security, everything most people spend their lives chasing. And yet he wasn't free. According to the traditional story, his father tried to protect him from anything unpleasant: sickness, old age, death, suffering. But eventually Siddhartha encountered these realities for himself. And suddenly he saw something that changed everything. No amount of wealth could stop aging. No amount of status could prevent loss, and no amount of comfort could protect him from uncertainty forever. The things he thought would make him safe could disappear, and that realization sent him on the journey that eventually led to his awakening. What strikes me about this story isn't that Siddhartha gave up palace. It's that he discovered something most of us spent years avoiding. The problem wasn't uncertainty. It was demanding certainty from a world that could never provide it. And I think that's where a lot of fear comes from. We want guarantees, assurance, and to know everything will work out. We want promises about the future, but life doesn't offer these promises, and fighting that reality only creates more fear. When I started exploring Buddhism, I thought freedom meant getting rid of problems. Now I'm starting to think freedom means something else. Freedom is not needing life to go exactly according to your plan. It's not being controlled by every fear that enters your mind, And it's not clinging so tightly to people, outcomes, or expectations that you lose yourself when they change. The monkey trap taught me that attachment can become a prison. With the second arrow, I learned that suffering is often multiplied by the stories we tell ourselves. And with Siddhartha's story, I realized that certainty was never available in the first place, which means maybe freedom isn't something we achieve. Maybe it's something we uncover when we stop gripping so tightly. I'm not sitting here as someone who has mastered these teachings. Not even close. I still worry, overthink, get attached to outcomes, and want certainty. But these stories have changed the way I see my own fears. Because every time fear shows up now, I find myself asking a different question. Not how do I control this, but what am I actually holding on to? And sometimes the answer to that question reveals exactly where I'm not free. Maybe that's why the wise person is beyond fear, not because nothing bad can happen, but because they no longer depend on life going exactly the way they want. And in that sense, they are truly free. If this video resonated with you, subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.